Welcome. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to this evening's panel discussion on by and on $1 Million Women. We all aspire to that, right? Well, the guys might want to be $1 million men, but it still applies. We'd like to thank the Village of Bolingbrook and our own Mayor Claire for sponsoring this event, and to the Fountaindale Public Library for hosting this event. Thank you very much. We'll hear more from the library in a minute. I'd also like to introduce the elected officials that have joined us here today. We will start with Alicia Benford from DuPage Township as a trustee. Yay. We have Celeste Bermeo from the Fountaindale Public Library Board. And representing Mayor Claire, we have our Deputy Mayor, Mike Lawler, and he's going to join us up front.
Thank you, Marty.
You're welcome.
Good evening. How's everyone doing tonight? Okay, we are going out live, so you're going to need to bring some more enthusiasm when the speakers get on. Not for me, but for them. Mayor Claire is doing something he does quite well, and that's supporting the youth of our community. He's in Bloomington, Illinois tonight, cheering on boys basketball team of Bolingbrook High School. They're in the sectionals. They won last Friday night by 2 points. So a little excitement down there tonight, so we're wishing them the best. I have had the honor of knowing and working with this very distinguished panel over the years in a lot of different initiatives. I have been impressed with their capabilities, their business capabilities, but more impressed with, and I hope you share this tonight, more impressed with what they do to serve the community, over and above how successful they are in business, but their amazing contributions to helping those around the community. So I wish to thank you for all that you do, not only in making Bolingbrook a strong business community, but in making the residents of Bolingbrook much stronger as a result of your service. You should be thankful tonight. Last year's event, we were in a room about the size of this stage, so it's a much more comfortable, not that we didn't have a great time last year, but it's much more comfortable tonight, and so I know you're going to have a great time and learn a lot. And again, congratulations to the organization for putting this together and sharing this fascinating and very worthwhile topic tonight. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. We're going to next hear from Nancy Castellano, who is the Deputy Director of the library here. She's going to talk about the library services, and please help me welcome Nancy Castellano.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for coming here today to the library. We're very excited to be hosting this program. Just so you know, we are live streaming this live on YouTube, but it will also be there on our YouTube channel afterwards. So if you wanted to go back and if you missed something or you wanted to see it again, it will be there for any time that you want to. And feel free to share it as much as you want so that other people have the opportunity to see this great program. I just want to encourage everyone who's here to get a library card, of course. So if you don't already have a library card, if you live in Bolingbrook or you have a business in the district that we serve, you can get a library card. And with that comes a lot of benefits. So you get access to these spaces. So as a library card holder, you can reserve a meeting room if you need to. You can also gain access to all our online material. And that is, I put a couple of cards in the back. So if you want to see the kind of materials we have available, take a look at them because there's a lot of training available online. We have access to things like Linda and Universal Class and Gale courses, and these are high-level training materials that you can use to grow your business, to learn more about certain topics, or to train your staff without it being very expensive. So that's just something that I wanted to promote. Again, welcome to the library. We're very happy to be hosting.
Thanks, Nancy. Next, joining me up here is Diane Sorescu of the Bolingbrook Bank and Trust. She's going to talk about some interesting event that's coming up for the women in business. So Diana, please join me up here.
Good evening. Once again, my name is Diana Sarescu. I am the branch manager for the Bolingbrook Bank and Trust, which is a Wintrust community bank. I'm also the chairperson for the Women in Business for the Bolingbrook Area Chamber of Commerce. So welcome once again. And a lot of faces I recognize in the room, and not only in the panel here too. So I appreciate everybody coming. And we do have a event, so I want you to save the date in October. We don't have the actual day, but it is coming with more information, and this will be a luncheon and a networking event with Ulta. So you definitely want to go there, you know, makeup and whatnot. So, but once again, I am part of Bolingbrook Bank and Trust. We do network with SCORE, so just to let you know, you'll get more information about that too. We also have, at the bank, we have business classes where it's business literacy programs. So for starters and whatnot, we do have it where you can do one-on-one. I do classes at the branch once a month between 5 and 6, and there's more to come with that. So stop on by at 198 South Bolingbrook Drive, right in front of Walmart. And I also have a playoff game to go to. I have a 6th grader, so it's my mama duty, so gotta go. So I'm probably in the 2nd quarter right now, so all right, thank you, enjoy.
Thank you, Diana. Hope they win. Yay. On your booklet that you got at your chairs, you'll see that this event was also coordinated by the Bolingbrook Bunch under the auspices of SCORE. And we'll hear more about SCORE specifically in a couple of minutes, but I would like to introduce you to the women that make up Bolingbrook, the Bolingbrook Bunch of the SCORE. So ladies, as I read your name, would you please stand up and then stay standing, and we'll give you a round of applause when we're done. So we'll start with Volante Grant, who is the founder and CEO of the By Design Network. Volante? You guys don't follow instructions very well. Sorry. Volante, Tony will come next. Lisa Marsh, who is the owner and founder of Miss P's Gluten Free, and she has provided our refreshments in the back. And if you haven't had the lemon bars, they are to die for. So it's all great. We have Robin McBroom, who is the co-owner of McBroom's Cleaning Service, and they focus on commercial cleaning and consulting services. We have Deirdre McGee, who is a certified career management, life, and leadership coach and the owner of 12 Stones Coaching. Okay. We have Beatrice Reyes, who is a financial professional with New York Life. Michelle Smith is the founder of Z&B Consulting and a small business coach and strategy rock star. We have Dondretta Strong, who is the self-published author of I've Got Something to Say. And we have me. I'm Marty Barton, president of WordCrafters and also Joyful Promises Officiant Services. WordCrafters is a marketing and professional writing consulting firm. And last but certainly not least is the Bolingbrook Bunch's founder, Tony Greathouse. And she does custom community creations. Thank you, Tony, and we'll hear from you in a couple of minutes. So a round of applause for all of our Bolingbrook Bunch. All right, thank you, ladies. We will next hear from Michelle Marco, who is a SCORE mentor. Michelle, please join me up here.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Well, welcome, everybody. This is very exciting. Tony's told me for months and months how dynamic you all are as a team. So not to take up too much time, because I can't wait to get to the panel, as I'm sure you also would like to. I would like to let you know, if you don't know about SCORE, we're the best kept secret. First and foremost, we are all comprised of people who have been in the business world, either presently or formerly, but have a passion for staying on top of it as academicians to be able to help guide and direct you in any phase of your business. And if anybody needs a mentor, by all means, I encourage you to pick up these cards. And the front and back, you have the connective link to being able to reach a SCORE mentor. And then in competition a little bit, with the Wintrust Group, we're going to be having, and I have cards on that are out on the table, and we're going to do Ladies Who Launch, Embracing Entrepreneurship with Confidence. That's going to be on August 7th, and I did a save the date card, August 7th at the Bolingbrook Country Club. And I have our speakers who are just extraordinary with a focus on our Entrepreneur and Business Person of the Year for 2018, who is an Illinois small business owner. So she is just delighted to be able to be the keynote speaker for this event. And for all of you, we're doing a 50% off for all the participants of this. As Tony and I discussed, you're well worth the investment. So for all of you, it'll be $49 only. And if this is something that you're interested in and would like to pay this evening, you just need to take one of these little cards and write your contact information, attach a check or your credit card number to it, and we'll be able to go ahead and process it. And last but not least, what SCORE has done is also created a business planning workshop because at all different phases, there needs to be oftentimes tweaking of your business plan to be able to take on additional responsibilities, or maybe to get yourself a brick and mortar component, or to even take on more staff. So we have come up with a business planning workshop series that will be held at the ITT Rice campus in Wheaton, and the cost for that is $99. So again, I'll have some flyers out on the table for you, and I really encourage and look forward to seeing you at any number of our programs in the greater Fox Valley area. So welcome, and I hope you enjoyed this evening.
Thank you, Michelle. Next, we're going to hear from our founder of the Bolingbrook Bunch and the coordinator of this whole event, and that is Tony Greathouse. Please help me welcome Tony up here.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, Toastmasters. Okay, I'm going to go really, really quickly. Michelle and Volante, if you could come up here real quickly. There's a wonderful series that's going on here at the Fountaindale Public Library. It's the first Wednesday of every month. Michelle is a strategy rock star. She leads you on an exploration into yourself. I think what you're going to hear from these ladies tonight is before you can build a business, you really have to know who you are. And so these are free seminars. It's 2 hours, and Michelle's leading that. And then we've got Volante Smith, who is just our social media maven. She built her own YouTube channel. I always say 1 million, but it's 500,000, same thing. So, and the thing that is so great about these ladies is that they're willing to share all the information. I want to say thank you to everybody on the panel. I'm going to step away pretty quickly, but I wanted to give you guys a little bit of insights and let you know where this came from. The Fountaindale Public Library allows me to have a book club here. This is, I think, the 4th year that I've had a book club. And a couple years ago, we read Julia Pimsler's book, $1 Million Women. And after we read that book, we were so mad because she posited in the book that only 3% of all women in business generate in excess of $1 million a year. Even though we're now starting businesses, I think it's 3 women to every 1 man. But our problem is we don't seek help. We don't seek resources. We try to bootstrap ourselves. We use, we're disconnected from information. So one of the things, all these ladies are where we aspire to be. And I think you're going to hear a lot of similarities and things that you can take away, because as each and every one of us realizes how we can scale our business, I think we can solve every single problem that exists in our country today. So I want to ask just one thing. Everybody who is contemplating business, can you stand up? Anybody who's in contemplation? Give her a hand. Give her a hand. Contemplation. Next up. Now, startup. Startup is the first 2 years. Who out here is in startup? For really tough. Okay, now 2 or more years. 2 or more years, please. That's when the rubber hits the road. That's when it really, really gets tough. That's when it's really like, oh my God, what do I do now? So I think that's what you're going to hear tonight. And thank you so much, Robin. I'm going to bring you up to introduce the panel and introduce yourself. Thank you all. There's so many things that you could be doing, and we so appreciate your spending time with us. Ladies, thank you so much for coming and speaking and sharing tonight. We really appreciate it. I'm so sorry. I'm Catherine. Catherine, oh my God. Here's my soul sister right here. I'm self-employed in the arts. She's self-employed in the arts. Catherine is going to be scribing everything that they say tonight. If you've never seen a scriber before, this is really, really special. So, yes, thank you. Sorry, Catherine Tilley.
Thanks, Tony, Michelle, and Volante. And now it is my honor and privilege. And before I do this, I also want to say it's been my honor and privilege to work with each one of these ladies on the panel at one point in time in one capacity or another. And they're perfect for doing what they're doing tonight because they know what it takes to get where they are and where I aspire to be. So it's been an honor to work with you guys, you ladies. But now it's my honor and privilege to present to you my friend, Robin McBroom. And you'll see her bio in the book, but Robin and her husband and I have a partnership together. We've worked together for as long as you've been in business, pretty much. And one of the nice things about the Bolingbrook Chamber and the way our business community works is you not only start a business, but businesses thrive based on relationships. And this community and the chamber fosters that atmosphere in this town. So for those of you that are in the contemplation stage and the startup stage, you're in the right place because this is a great place to get started in business. And I'm sure all these ladies will talk to you about relationships and how that helps your business grow. So it's my privilege now to bring to you Robin McBroom as our moderator tonight.
Thank you, Marty. Well, it is also my honor and privilege to know these 4 women as well. I know them personally as well as professionally. Thank you, Nancy. And I admire and respect their talents, their skills, and their knowledge that they are bringing to all of us tonight and sharing it with us. There's going to be 3 parts of the discussion tonight. The first part is that they will be introducing themselves and then telling us how they got started in their business and what they're all about. The second part will be that they will be talking about how to start a business. So for folks that are just starting out and only in 1 or 2 years, that how to start their business. So I'll be asking them questions about how they started their business. And the third part then will be about how you maintain your business. You got this business going now, and so how do you maintain the business and to maintain the business to be successful? So I will be asking them questions about how to maintain their business and how they will be successful. After the third part, there will be a Q&A part from all of you. And we are asking you to write your questions down during the discussion that we're going to be having up here. And at the end, then, we will ask you for your questions. And they will then respond to your questions, either as just one of the panelists or as a whole, that they will be responding to your questions. So feel free to make sure that you are asking questions specifically and what you really need to know, because we're here to meet your needs. And that is what we discussed before we all came up here, is we want to make sure to meet all of your needs. So please ask questions and what you need to know. So we only have 2 mics, so you might have to give us some time in getting the mic back and forth to each other, but we're looking at just having a discussion. And we're going to start with Alicia introducing herself.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us this evening. My name is Alicia Binford. I am a CPA. I actually have an accounting firm here in Bolingbrook. We are entering our 23rd year in business here in Bolingbrook. We also have another office in Chicago on the south side of Chicago. I started out in Chicago, went to high school at Lane Tech, set myself for warmer sites, so I attended college at Florida A&M University. I wanted to stay in the southern area, but my best job offer was here at Deloitte & Touche. So I spent a couple of years there, and then I went over to a company called Motorola. I was actually reminiscing on my Motorola days the other day and realized that after working in the audit department for a little while, I ended up as a payroll manager, not really realizing my responsibilities at that point, but like at the age of 27, I was in charge of paying Chris Galvin, who was the chairman of Motorola at the time, and supervising a staff of 15. Never knowing that, you know, at some point those skills of helping and supervising would come into play when I started my own business. So while my first day on my first job at Deloitte & Touche, I met a young lady by the name of Kimmy Brown at the time. We ultimately became business partners. In 1996, we decided that we wanted to start a business just helping people complete tax returns. Well, of course, that business then bloomed into audit work and then trying to find other ways to make sure we could continue to grow our business and sustain. So we also provide consulting services as well. We are now actually one of the largest minority female-owned CPA firms in the country. We have less than 20 employees, but because it is such a male-dominated profession, we are actually able to say that we are a pretty large firm from a female standpoint and still able to grow and do business in this community. I moved to Bolingbrook about 19 years ago, and that is when I decided to open my office just on Schmidt Road. And as Marty stated earlier, one of the ways that I wanted to get out there was just to get out there, actually. If you heard Binford Brown, you would have no idea of what we did. People became to know me as the tax lady because I made sure that I was out and about at every chamber event, at every community service activity, being there to answer questions that people had, also offering our services to non-for-profit organizations. So those were just some of the ways that we grew our business and just a little bit about my history and my story. You'll learn obviously a lot more about us this evening, but just wanted to give you a little bit about me and my background. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Rose Canfield, and I am from an owner of Solutions Networking. And my story starts several years ago, as I like to tell my nieces and nephew, 25 times 2 plus a few. And I grew up in a rural area in Midwest Illinois. So how many people know of Macomb, Illinois in the room? Okay, so go about 40 miles west of Macomb on a little country road that you can't even figure out how to get there, and that's where I'm from. But my road led here because of my father and my mother, both in service businesses. I started working with my father, and he owned his own business when I was 13 years old. I am one of 5 children. I am the oldest daughter of those 5 children. And so we all worked in the family business, both his professional business as well as on a 40-acre farm. So we fast forward a little bit and always wanting to serve clients. I went to college at Illinois State University, knowing that I would never return back to the farm full-time, but only to visit. And from there moved to Chicago. The story of my life getting to Chicago was I received a job application or an interview, and the individual on the other line says, "Can you be here tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock? Well, I was 5 hours away, and I said, sure. I got on an Amtrak train, took it to my college roommate's house, and I was downtown Chicago, not knowing where I was going, but by a mentor of my college friend, she got me to my interview, and I started my job downtown Chicago 2 weeks later. That was with a firm you might know as Merrill Lynch. I started with Merrill Lynch in the mailroom. I worked for Merrill Lynch for 18 years, worked my way up to middle management, upper management, traveled New York, went to the stock exchange. I was responsible for many facets within the company, but always on the service side of the business. A lot of people used to ask, well, why weren't you a broker? Why weren't you a trader? Well, the reason being is I like serving people. I don't really want to be responsible for their money, but I like helping them figure out what they're supposed to do with their money. From there at Merrill Lynch, I spent 18 years, again, doing IT work, doing building offices, traveling the country. I was part of a mentor team putting in new technology around Merrill Lynch, around the country at Merrill Lynch. And what I decided one night, as I was sharing a few moments ago with some individuals, I had my 6-year-old son with me building an office, putting in carpeting so that the office could open up the next morning with no stopping. And I had to realize my 6-year-old son is laying carpet with me at an office. There's something wrong with this picture. So what do I like to do with my life? My life was with my children, my family. And so I took those pros and cons and turned it into a real positive, and I ended up going to work for the IT company that handled Merrill Lynch. And so from that 18 years of service at Merrill Lynch has led me to 17 years now being with Solutions Networking. That IT company was born from Solutions Networking. So I started working with the IT, and IT simply meaning working with small business owners, helping them to transform their business through the use of technology with anything, any type of service program, hardware that they need. But really to aspire to 17 years through, the good times with partners, the bad times, the transitions that you go through in business after 5 years, people saying, well, you don't make, small businesses don't succeed after 5 years, and proving them wrong. Never, ever stopping. Never saying no, as my team will attest to. And I just don't know the word no in my vocabulary. A client needs something, we will do it, we will figure out how to do it, and we'll do it the best of our ability. And one thing that I do attribute my career and being on this journey as it continues to develop and the legacy that I want to succeed with and leave with is having a great team. You cannot do it alone. You have to have mentors, you have to have team, you have to have faith, and you have to have family. So with that, I hope you learn a lot this evening, and happy to have all of you here this evening and answer any questions that you have.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Good evening. Okay. I'm Anita Conto Scott, also known as Anita Conto Carty, as you see my name in there. I am a Bolingbrook resident. My family actually moved a lot. I lived a lot of different places. I was actually born in Worcester, Massachusetts, so it kind of gives you an idea of where we used to live before moving to Chicago. And in Chicago, I went through the grade school system, actually started off at Lane Tech High School, transferred from Lane Tech to Bolingbrook High School. Well, during those years where I was between Lane Tech and Bolingbrook High School, was a show that maybe some of you might remember called The Cosby Show. Well, I saw Claire Huxtable being this attorney and speaking Spanish, and I said, that's what I want to do. Before that, I thought I wanted to be a teacher, and so I had hung out with the teachers in 6th, 7th grade, learned all about the Constitution. If you wanted to play with me as a child, we were going to talk about the Constitution. We were going to talk about the 3 branches of government, and that's what we were going to do. So fast forward, I graduated from Bolingbrook High School, knew I wanted to be a lawyer. It was just something I had a passion for. So I went to college. I went to Adrian College in Adrian, Michigan. No one ever heard of it. But it's a private college. Oh, Marty heard of it. It's a private college, and I mean, the way that I picked that school is just horrible looking back. But I had a Barron's book of colleges, and Adrian started with an A. So I said, okay, you know what? Let me fill out an application. So I did that, filled out some other applications, and they started calling me, and they said, we got your application, we got your transcripts. Would you consider coming here? I said, well, it costs too much money, I can't come. So they gave me a financial aid package that made it feasible. So I went to college, knew I wanted to go to law school, worked very hard in terms of grades and Dean's List and everything else that was going to help me get to law school, because that was my mission. So I ended up going to Indiana University in Bloomington, Indiana. And when I got to Indiana, I was just shy of turning 21. So for all those out there thinking she looks young, I am young. So I remember the contract professor saying we were going to meet at this bar and study, and I was like, I can't get in. I'm not even 21. How am I going to do this? So I graduated from law school. My family was living in Bolingbrook. I moved in with my parents. I did lots of different interviews. I was going to work downtown. I was going to be a civil rights attorney. I was going to do a lot of awesome things. And finances did not cooperate. So I helped out a few attorneys in town, and I realized that the minority population was underrepresented in Bolingbrook. So I decided I was going to hang my own shingle up. And half of the people thought I was crazy. But that's what life is about. You follow your passion, you take risks. So I hung out my own shingle, and here we are 20 years later. And after hanging out my shingle for about 10 years, I decided that I didn't want to keep paying office rent, so I built an office building. I purchased the land off of Schmidt Road, and I had a general contractor that didn't act right, so I fired him, and I became the general contractor and put up a 14,000 square foot building where my law office is now. So that's a little bit about my story. I'm a mother of three. I have a 15-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a 3-year-old. So talk about work-life balance.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here. My name is Teresa Kostick, and my story isn't as glamorous as the three here. I have to tell you, my story is I did not go to college. I have a high school education, and I have no college degree. But I can tell you that I fell in love with the industry that I'm in. I own a body shop, and that body shop started in 1970 by my father, who was my mentor. I joined my father in 1982. He was a one-man show in a little 5,600 square foot building. He had to do everything from writing estimates to taking care of getting parts, just everything on his own. 1982 was a tough year because the economy was really rough. And I remember him calling me and saying, hey, Teresa, would you mind just coming and helping me out just a couple days a week? I just need somebody to answer the phone, open up the mail, and just help me out here. I could tell he was struggling. I could tell he was financially struggling, and he didn't want to dare tell my mother. He did not want her to know. I had a 2-year-old little girl at the time, and I, without ever winking an eye, I said, absolutely, Dad, I'll come. He paid me $5 an hour. It cost me more than that to put my child in daycare. I drove around for about a week with the Yellow Pages at that time, trying to find the proper daycare. She's my first child, and I wanted her to have good care. At that point, I finally found somebody to watch my daughter, joined my dad a couple days a week, and it was opening up the mail that actually found what I needed to find, and that was how to make your body shop more profitable. And I found this, and they were having this big seminar at the Marriott Schaumburg, the Marriott in Schaumburg. So at any rate, I asked my dad, I says, would you like to go? I think that maybe this would be good for us. And it was from that day that my whole life just changed. I absolutely fell in love with the industry because I recognized that I was helping people more than I was repairing vehicles, because they needed guidance, they needed assistance, they needed somebody to care, they needed compassion, they needed someone they could trust. And those are all the components you need for any business. Whatever it is, whatever we do, we need every one of those elements. And I love people, and I love helping, and I'm honest. And it was a good fit for me. I worked my tail off. I didn't know how to read a profit and loss report, so I joined, I went to night school. So what I recognized out of business is we cannot all be good at everything. And when you're not good at something and you recognize what that weakness is, that's where you tackle it. That's where you go and you look to educate yourself on that specific weakness. Mine was financial. But boy, I got it. and it helped me, and it helped me grow, and it helped me learn. Love what you do, and man, it'll just all fall right into place. So I wish every one of you the best of luck. And it's great being here. Love this. Thank you.
Well, Teresa, I have to say, Todd and I have a college degree from Illinois State University, and we are now cleaning toilets. And that is our business. Who would have dreamt in a million years that we will be cleaning offices? Yeah. And so it doesn't matter whether you have a degree or not a degree. It's all about where your heart is, as all four of them have just said about where their heart is. And that actually goes into the next question that I have for the four of you. What character traits do you need to start a business? Teresa, can you start us off down there with the mic at that end?
Would you do that?
Yes.
What, is this on?
Yes.
What character traits?
What character traits do you have?
I mean, I think the first thing is, you have to have passion for what you do. I mean, it's without a doubt, passion is key. You can't be afraid. Things get tough, and you just got to keep on pushing. You just don't stop. Perseverance. You just go. You just run with it. And yeah, you're going to make mistakes along the way, but that's okay. Because honestly, you need to make mistakes. Making mistakes that's how you learn. And that was one of the things my father allowed me to do. He allowed me to make mistakes, and he trusted me. So trust yourself. Those are all the characteristics. At least that's the way I view it.
I would say absolutely the same thing. The only thing that I would add is, with the determination, you have to stay determined. There's so many people that will talk you out of your dream in an instant. People were like, why are you opening up your office? You just got out of law school. Are you sure you want to do that? I'm like, here's my business card. And then, oh, that's a good job. Good for you. So, people, if you let them determine your future because you're not so determined, they will easily discourage you. My favorite saying is, expect the road to success to be bumpy. So once you have that in mind and you stay focused and determined, and everything Teresa said, that's what the characteristics that you definitely need, and I'm sure they're going to add on to that.
I think Teresa touched on it earlier as well. Honesty, being honest with yourself and being honest with those, obviously, that you go into business with. If you want a business that will be sustaining itself, you want to create relationships that you will continue to see people over and over again. I can count the number of files where we may have started with a husband and a wife, and now we're doing the children and the grandchildren. You want to continue to build on that relationship. We decided to we didn't want to spend a lot of money on advertising. We felt we could grow our business just by doing a good job for one organization or a couple of individuals, and they would help pass that on. Time management. There are only so many hours in a day, and at some point you have to recognize that you will need help if you want to be able to grow your business. So making sure you manage your time wisely and knowing when you need to bring in other people to help. And then just being brave. As Anita said, you're going to have a lot of naysayers out there. So being brave and not letting one negative comment deter you for the rest of the week or the rest of the month or for that bright idea that you had. And then just learning how to encourage yourself. There's some days that I know, especially now during tax season. Last night I was just telling Robin I didn't get home until 9:40 at night, and I started early in the morning. And keep in mind, I said I've been doing this for 20 years and we have a staff, but I don't like to turn anyone away. So if somebody is coming to us for help, if that means we have to expand, we expand. If we work extra hours, we work extra hours, but still encouraging myself so that I'm able to encourage the other staff that works with me. So those are, definitely traits you want to work on.
Well, I can see these questions are going to be quite difficult because we all share the same sentiments and the same goals and the same characteristics. In addition to what everyone else has said, I think one of the key areas that I would add is mentors. You know, like we've said, you need help, don't be afraid to ask. Have a good mentor, whether it's a family member, a business member, someone in the community that you trust. Always have a mentor that you can work with. Key contacts, and be true to yourself. Like we've said before, you know, one of the things my father taught me a long time ago: don't lie, don't cheat, don't steal. And that could be a number of things. Don't cheat yourself. Don't steal time away from yourself. Don't steal time away from others. We can put that in a number of other areas of characteristics, but the one thing you want to do is have confidence in yourself. As women in business, it is a tough road already pathed ahead of us, but I know, as all of us are sitting here and all of you are out there, there is a place and a path for each one of us, and if you have confidence in what you want to do and you have the right people that you're working with, you will persevere and you will get your dream. So keep up the good work.
Thank you. And I think one of them already touched upon it, but a risk taker. You really have to be a risk taker. You have to have the courage and the strength to be a risk taker, because it takes a lot of risk to go into business for yourself, and it's not easy. But as Alicia said, have confidence in yourself and know that you're going to do that. Next question. We talked about the characteristics that you need in starting a business. So what do you do next when you start a business? You want to start that up?
I took I guess a non-conventional route. I worked at my business part-time for a number of years before I decided to become full-time. I actually was the last partner to become full-time at the firm. We have another gentleman by the name of Tim Watson. He was our first full-time partner in the audit area. And then after I had my second son in 2001, I think the first day back, I had him in June. He was born June of 2001, so September 11th, I was sitting home nursing when all of that happened. And then in October, I had to return to work. My first day back at work, my supervisor said, well, I know you've only been coming in to Schaumburg 3 days a week, but now that you've had your son, maybe you can come in 5 days. Now I'm dropping off one at a preschool at 6:30. The other one was going to my mother-in-law, and then I'd have this road show with picking up everybody to go home. So within 24 hours, I knew I wasn't going to do that anymore. So the next day, I came in and tendered my 2-week resignation, and he was like, oh my God, I didn't mean to run you off, but that was my key then. I knew it was time for me to branch off and do things on my own. So I hung around for a month or two and finished off another project, but then I was able to have that time being a mother, have that time, you know, growing my business, and I had already been doing it for a little bit on a part-time basis. So I kind of had a buffer until I was able to, you know, get out and meet clients. But that was my path to starting my business full-time.
Well, I think the path I took was a little different than most. In starting Solutions Networking, I actually was one of 5 founders of the company. My other 4 partners were all men that had been in the industry, and we all brought a different strength. In the company, I brought the client relationship piece. I was the face of the company, working with our clients. We had another individual partner that was in the finance side. We had one that was warehouse, one that was our programmer and more of the IT infrastructure side. And part of that growth that we have made and succeeded over 17 years is understanding our strengths and our weaknesses, like we said before. It takes a mountain to get a business started, but I think it really is more important that you're learning from others as you grow, and you grow yourself so that the capabilities of those individuals, as they have moved on to other areas of their life for one reason or another, allowed me the opportunity to bring in team members. They're not my staff, they're not my employees, they're my team members, they're my teammates, they're individuals in the community that can contribute and have a passion the same way I do, that we have a work culture. So they are my work family, And that's what allows me to plan and move to every stage that we do, is to be very transparent with my work family, to make sure that they know how important they are to me and that each one of them contribute to the bottom line, whether it's making a client happy or telling a client a decision that is less than what they want to hear, because you have to be strong enough to do both in a business. And that's my path and how I got to it. Yeah.
All right. So can you repeat the question?
To go back to it, Anita. Let me see. What did you do to prepare to go into business?
Okay. Well, I did some research, and I reached out to other attorneys that had their own practice, just to kind of figure out what I needed to do, and pretty much just have someone that was going to have my back. I remember reaching out to a specific family friend who happened to be an attorney, and I said, you know, I'm getting ready to go out, but I'm really scared because I don't have enough experience. And he said to me, you know, Nita, experience is something you'll never have enough of. And that resonated with me. And I said, well, okay, if I do this, can I call you for questions? Will you help me? He said, sure. So I said, all right, fine. So I bartered an office space, traded legal work for a really small space, maybe smaller than the closet back there. And seriously. And so I subleased the space, and I just, you know, set up the phone, set up the computer, and kind of just went from there with, you know, very little money to my bank account. But then I just started marketing myself. So once I got my business cards made up, I would go to Walmart, hand out cards. Can I give you something? Can I give you a card? And people were kind of put off a little bit. But then when they realized, oh, you're giving me a card as an attorney, okay, I might need your services. Okay, this is something good. So I would just keep marketing myself. And as the person that I was subleasing from, he was actually a tax accountant. So when tax season started and his clients were coming through, I was giving them business cards. And before you knew it, I just had clientele and business was growing. And I then got out of that space to a space where people could actually fit and sit down. And it just kind of went from there.
Well, my path was a little bit different because I didn't have, you know, to come up with money and things of that nature, but I did have to help grow that business. And before I could grow that business, I had to understand the business, and that was tough because it was a man's world, because what woman gets into the body shop business, right? I mean, thank God I had a dad that would take me everywhere with him, and then it'd be introduced as his daughter, so you got to accept it a little bit better. But it was not easy. It wasn't easy being in a man's type of a business and trying to negotiate what we needed to do to repair a vehicle and how much it was going to cost with an insurance adjuster that looked at you like, who are you, you know, that type of thing. So it was a little tough, but here's what I did do. I educated myself everywhere I could. I traveled all over the United States and went to every seminar that they offered in anything that was revolved around collision repair. And they had courses out there. Because remember, I started out by opening up that piece of mail that said, if you want to become more profitable in the body shop business, here's what you got to do. So traveled everywhere. I mean, joined everywhere, signed up for anything I could, signed up for some college courses. I educated myself like there was no tomorrow. And that's what I had to do. That was the path I had to take. I got my confidence, I understood things, I could grow myself because I went ahead and educated myself. And I just want to touch on that just for a minute, because there was something that I think it was Michelle touched on earlier, that she said about all these courses you can take and seminars. Go to each and every one you can. That's what's going to get you where you need to go. Showing up at these type of things. It really does make a difference. That's the path I chose. I just educated myself.
Thank you. Yeah, when Todd and I first started the business as well, my background is early childhood. I had no business background whatsoever. In college, you have, in early childhood, there's not a Business 101 workshop class at all. And so business was very foreign to me. I had no clue. Luckily, Todd had a marketing background, so he had some idea of what to do in business. But I got my associate's degree from Joliet Junior College. And with my associate's degree at Joliet Junior College, I knew that they had a small business department. And that was the first thing that I did as well, is went to that small business department at Joliet Junior College and learned how to write a business plan. Just as Michelle was saying earlier, write your business plan. Start off with your business plan, understand your business plan so you know where you're going and how you're getting there. Most important. But what about goals? Can you talk about goals and the importance of goals? Teresa, you want to start us off?
Well, there's goals. There's short-term goals, and then there's long-term goals. And I mean, you do have to have those, because it's you're going to look at that every day. You need to look at that every day. You need to look at, where do you want to be in 3 years? Where do you want to be in 5 years? And where do you want to be in 10 years? And sometimes it's hard to really get your head wrapped around that, because sometimes you don't know what you don't know. And I know that sounds crazy, but it's just the truth. But you just have to start out with getting goals on paper. And you know, even a simple thing like every day, create goals for yourself every day. And tick them off. Every time you create a goal and you did it for the day, start out with little small things. If that's not something that you're really comfortable with, because I was never a goal setter. I just kept working and doing and learning, and I figured, okay, that's all I need to do. But you really do need goals, because if you just keep working every day and you never look at where you want to go, you're going to stay right where you're at. You've got to set personal goals for yourself. You've got to set business goals for yourself. And they can be everyday goals. They can be once a month goals. They could be, but start doing something in terms of setting goals. That would be my advice.
I would totally agree with everything that Teresa said. The only thing that I would add is that you should be very fluid. It's one thing to set goals. It's one thing to set personal goals and on different time schedules, but to be fluid, you have to be able to adjust your goal as life happens. If you just stick to that goal and say, this is my goal, and I'm not going to try to look at what other way I could reach that goal or how to make that goal a little bit more flexible because life just happened, then it's going to be very difficult to progress and get to that next level. Just a very quick example. When I built that office complex, it was set up to be office condos. It was going to be divided into 10 office condos. Everyone was going to purchase their condo. I would not have to be a landlord. I would have my own office condo. And it was a brilliant plan. I mean, the bank thought so. They gave me the loan. You know, it was great. Only thing that happened was the recession. So the building was completed in June of 2009, and, you know, just made it very difficult for people to want to step out and purchase an office condo. And so I had to be fluid. Even though that was my goal, it was in a business plan, everyone thought it was a brilliant idea, life happened. So set new goals, be a little bit flexible. Okay, so what else can we do? So we went to a rent lease model. Okay, so you can't buy it, maybe you can lease it. Okay, so now that means I'm going to have to be a landlord after all. Okay, let's figure out how we do this. So you just have to be fluid with those goals and understand that they're just milestones of you trying to reach an end goal and an achievement and be the better person, better you, and just bettering yourself, period. Getting to that next level, as Sierra says, level up. So just be fluid with those goals.
We established our goals based on what business areas we wanted to get into. So for example, I told you we started out just by helping everybody with a tax return. When we decided we wanted to get into the audit arena, we looked at ways to make ourselves competitive. So we became certified with the state of Illinois as a DBE, MBE, WBE, Disadvantaged Business Enterprise, Minority Business Enterprise, Women Business Enterprise. We now feel like we're ready to actually try to hopefully move into the federal level where they have what's called an 8A certification. And the government purchases everything. They purchase accounting services, they purchase science services. So that is an area now that we want to branch into. So we've determined our goals based on what different areas we can bring to our business to continue to grow our business.
Well, I concur with all the ladies up here. And in addition to that, I think one of the things you have to do to set your goal is to know your competition, right? Where do you want to set yourself apart? What is your niche? What is your area of expertise? What can you bring to the table that is different than someone else? So that you're not the same as the next person next door. We all have an individual talent that we can add to that. We may be the same IT person as the person next door, but we add value in our customer services is top-notch more than our competitors in our world. We have other services and certifications also that we assign to help our clients and to make us a better choice for our clients. But no matter what industry you're in, I think you have to understand who your competition is, do your homework on them, make sure that you understand what their niche is and what your strengths are in order to set yourself apart from being that next person.
And that actually goes right into one of our questions, Rose. How do you distinguish yourself from your competition? So that's perfect.
Well then, wasn't that just fun? Setting yourself apart is about looking at yourself in the mirror. Can you look at yourself every evening in the mirror and know you did the best possible job that you could? It's not about achieving each one of your goals every day, but did you tackle them? Did you make a difference in those goals? Did you make a difference in someone else's life today? Whatever industry you're in, and achieving your goals and achieving your competition and aspiring to do something better tomorrow than we did yesterday is what we should all strive for to help our businesses grow. Whether it's another marketing campaign, whether it's going to a symposium, whether it's putting yourself out there in an uncomfortable situation that you're not really good at and don't feel like you're good at, but it's by putting yourself out there and challenging yourself, your staff, whomever you're working with, even your clients, challenging your clients to write something about you, about your company that will help you and your company learn. It's better to get negative comments than positive comments, quite honestly. I would much rather have someone write something about what we've done wrong that's been disappointing. It'll help us learn not to do it again, than it is to always get, oh, you were great, you look good, and all those compliments. You know, not that we don't want to hear that. Not every one of us needs a pat on the back. What we need is a push out the door to do something better the next day.
One of the ways we're able to distinguish ourselves from the competitors, obviously there's two other big box tax entities that everybody knows about. And usually when people ask me, well, what makes you different from them? And you can always, you know, build yourself up as a firm without knocking someone else down. But I say simple things like, well, we're open year round. You know, they may only be open from January to April. And then if you have a letter or you receive a letter from the IRS in June or July, who are you going to call? Because they're actually closed. We're still here 365 days a year. And again, the next thing would be, usually when clients come in for an appointment, they're used to seeing me, so they schedule that appointment with me. So you know the next year, you're going to see me, and the year after that, you'll see me again. So just making sure that we are able to set ourselves apart and still be obviously competitive from a price standpoint, and always making sure that as we set ourselves apart, that we are still have something that makes people happy to come and see us. You know, they come by sometimes, they see a dog, they bring us treat, you know, they'll bring us cake, they bring us food. I mean, we do definitely try to create a family atmosphere that in my mind, you won't get at one of those big box places that's only open 12 weeks out of the year.
Either one of you like to share?
I guess, well, I'll start out with employees, employee retention. Not having a revolving door is a big part of that to me. That's how I differentiate, because in our industry, it is a revolving door. And when you have a revolving door of an employees, you will not have consistency in your business. You'll just, it's awful. The other thing that I would say that we differentiate from is that we recognized how important it was that the manufacturers, Honda, Nissan, GM, Ford, all the manufacturers out there, how important it was to them that they wanted their cars repaired correctly. And they started putting out notifications that, and it costs money to get into this, and it costs training. It's kind of an insurance policy to, you know, continue in your business, but there were certifications that you could sign up for, and we signed up for those certifications, and so now we're certified. And so they'll only allow so many facilities to get that certification, and then it gets shut down. So that's how we differentiate ourselves. The other thing is giving back to the community and being involved in the community. I totally, wholeheartedly believe that you have got to give to the community. Be involved in it and give, because it will come back to you. And so that's what I would say.
For my law office, our biggest thing is having that personal one-on-one with our clients. I think part of it comes from me having gone to a private college where the ratio from teacher, student, where you weren't a number. They knew your name and you barely could hide. But that my favorite emails from clients start with Anita and team. I like the clients to know that we are a team and that we are servicing them for who they are, what their needs are, and we're tailoring what their needs are specifically in terms of giving them the services. Our clients are not numbers to us. We know their names. We know, sometimes the name of their pets because we get into those type of conversations. And every now and then I catch myself saying to myself, which I shouldn't have made on TV, but, oh my goodness, this person must think they're my only client. And then I think, but that's it. That's exactly it. I want them to think that they're our only client. I want them to have that feeling, even though they might be one of many, but they should have the feeling that they're the only client. So when they call, the phone gets answered. When they have a question, that question gets answered. When they need a specific service done immediately, we figured out a way to get it done, meet the deadline, meet the timeline, and not just say, you know what, sorry, we can't get to it today. We meet our clients' needs, and we do the best in making them feel like they are our only client, when they're not. So.
Okay, we're going to move on to the third part of our discussion here, which is how do you maintain the success? So our first question is, other than deciding to work for yourself, what was the single most important decision you made that contributed to your success? Who would like to start?
Other than working for myself, I think one of the biggest attributes that we have at Solutions Networking, again, goes back to what we've talked about before, and that's our team. The clients deserve the respect, the honesty, the hard work, the dedication that your staff puts into it. And it is a reflection on you, the business owner, to make sure that you set that tone. They will lead by example, and if it's not something that you would not do, you should not ask your staff to do it either, is my opinion. And so in the trenches, whether it's night, whether it's morning, whether it's during the middle of the day, the staff has to be a working team, cohesiveness, each doing their own part to make the whole work all day long. It's like a car. You have tires, you have oil, you have a steering wheel. Without your 4 tires running all at the same time in the same position, you will not succeed. So each one of the team members has to pull their own weight. As a business owner, the challenge is to make sure you encourage them to make those decisions. Encourage them. Don't tell them how to do it, encourage them to do that. As we said a long time ago in this conversation, they may fail, they may make a decision. I am of the belief that no one makes a bad decision. You make a decision based on the information you have. Give yourself the information, give yourself the training, allow your employees to be trained, educated, and make their own decision, and they too will succeed, and therefore the company will succeed.
I think one of the most important decisions I made, and I'll piggyback, is knowing when to hire someone else, knowing that you can't do it all by yourself. If you continue to try to service every single client, you will fall short somewhere. If you end up with a business where you have a large amount of growth, you have to make sure you have the right procedures in place so nobody's stepping on anyone else's toes. You're still able to meet those client needs. I look at success with my client relationships when a client comes in and says, oh, Maya deserves a raise. Well, that's obviously telling me that she left an impact on that particular client, that they feel comfortable enough with working with her and obviously advocating on her to get a raise at the time. But also just making sure as well that for me, one of the things that I've also learned is, as you stated earlier, taking that negative feedback and turning it into a teachable moment or something constructive. Last year, I was running for office, so I was doing, something else during tax season. And if I had clients saying, oh, it's been, Alicia hasn't gotten back to me as quickly, because as Anita said, they think they're my only client. So if they send me an email and I took a day to respond instead of responding in 10 minutes, they're used to that 10-minute response. So I now have staff copied on emails. If that's something that they can handle, take care of it. If I'm not there, at least they're still being serviced. So for me, it was the making sure that I put processes in place that even when I had negative feedback, that I changed our procedures to make sure we were still able to meet the needs of the clients. No, you guys have right down there.
All right, so say the question one more time, because I mean it gets watered down and you listen to all this, because I have some thoughts here.
Yeah. Other than deciding to work for yourself, what was the single most important decision you made that contributed to your success?
One of the things that, so let me just back up here a second. We went from a 5,600 square foot building into an 18,000 square foot building. Huge, huge jump. So my lesson there was don't grow too fast. It's really hard to stagnate growth, but if you don't, you will run out of cash. And that almost happened. So that was one of my lessons. The other thing that I've learned through business is that I've always feel like as the president of the company, you always have to make all the decisions yourself, but you don't. You have lots of resources out there. You have people you can talk to. I let my employees be a part of that decision making. We have a process change we have to make. What do you think about this? Let's let them be a part of that decision, because they will own it and they will run with it. It'll make life a lot easier. We run with a lot of processes in our facility because our facility has to run with really good efficiency. So we have a slogan in our shop: don't blame the people, blame the process.
I think I've been sitting here pondering this question and how I would answer it. So you saw me just passing the mic because I'm thinking, I don't know how to answer this question. But taking everybody's comments in and just kind of really thinking the question and probably overanalyzing it. But in trying to turn the question into something that I can answer that would give advice, my advice would be, because what I think was a turning point for me was realizing my value as a business to the banking industry and developing the relationship with the bank. For example, way back when I had a bank that's not even in business now, and the person from the bank would come to the office and they would give, coffee mugs and treats and, oh, are you busy? We could take a deposit for you. And I'm like, is this how a bank used to work? And then I had another bank, which was a big name bank that still exists, and they wouldn't do any of those things. They didn't even know who I was, even though I was keeping my monies in that bank. I couldn't even get a car loan from them. I mean, it was just ridiculous. And when I pulled all my money out, that was the first time they called me. And they're like, what's going on? How are you? We can offer you these services. I'm like, are you kidding me? Have been at your bank for all these years. So when I learned the value of pairing my business up with a bank that cared about my business and having my account there and willing to do loans and give lines of credits and different things that would help to grow the business, that's when I was able to leverage that relationship. So when you heard Diana Sarescu here from Wintrust Bank and any other banker, one of the things that I would give as advice is learning how to become friends with your bank and making sure that that bank has your back as you're trying to grow your business, because you can't do this alone. You can't do it without having the finances and being able to build those relationships.
Thank you. We kind of touched upon it already, but the importance of being involved in your community. So talk about that and how important it really is to be part of your community, to be part of a community organization, what it really means and how important it is to the success of your business.
I find that as a key success for my business. I can say that there's not a meeting that I go into that I don't meet a client or a potential client. I started growing my business by getting involved in the local chamber. Ended up serving on the chamber board for a while with Ms. Barton. Became board member, president of the board. I moved from there over to like our Bolingbrook Police Pension Board, and then that led me into the political arena where I became a township trustee. I'm also a member of the Rotary Club with Diana, who was here earlier. I'm an active member of my sorority chapter. So almost every facet of my life, whether it's community related from working with the sorority or Rotary or business related, there's not a meeting that I go into that I don't meet a client, a potential client, somebody has a question or they want to refer me to someone. So to me personally, that has definitely been one of the keys to what I feel our business success, because obviously you get out of it what you put into it. You can pay a $200 fee every year, but unless you're out there going to events and making those relationships, for me it would be a challenge and hard to grow the business. But that's been definitely a plus for me.
I would concur. I mean, over the course of my 20 plus, 30 plus years of working, it's always been about building those relationships. And where they start is by giving back to your community, whether it's through your school, where you're working with your children at the boosters clubs and the many concession stands you're doing. People that you meet work somewhere. They need your services, they need someone else's services. So again, whether it's the Boosters Club and the chambers and growing through the ranks of the chambers like yourself, chamber member, chamber board member, membership committee member, whatever the case may be, get involved in your church, in your community, in all nonprofits. There's many nonprofits that need our services and our help. And so to be a part of that volunteering, you meet people of all walks of life, and none of us are any better than the next person, that we all need help and we all need that service level. And one of the things about being in that community, like you say, is building those relationships. You meet some really wonderful friends, and in most of our business, as we grow our business, those clients are really our friends first. We do services for them as a business, but they become our true friends. As I was reflecting today on some of these questions, one of my colleagues was helping me, and we started talking about one of our dear friends and clients that we started as she was a single mom, recently divorced, an attorney working out of her basement. She now has 2 offices, 23 employees, and we've been her client, and she's been our client, I should say, and our dear friend for over 17 years. And I met her at a chamber outing. So you never know the people that and your paths you're going to cross. So get involved, stay involved, invite other people, be a mentor to someone else that's not aware of how to get involved, and just keep building that chain. That's how you can grow.
I mean, I just have to say ditto to all of that, because I just truly believe, and I've said it over and over again every time I pick up the mic, give back to your community. I mean, we've done some really cool things, and I mean, we've helped some families, but I didn't do it without pulling resources together and brought the community together, and the DuPage Township and Allline and all these other organizations filling up a car filled with food and helping a family that, you know, a single mom that doesn't have any transportation, and giving a vehicle to her and insuring it for a whole year. But none of that could be done, not just by us, but we hosted, but it was pulled together by all the love in this community. And I genuinely mean the love, because there isn't anybody that won't look, you know, everybody wants to help everybody. And I just believe that you have to give to receive.
I think it's even beyond that. I think that everyone in here that wants to be a business person is a business person, is contemplating being a business person. You're in business for yourself because you love what you do. You're in business with yourself because you like the service or the product that you provide, and you feel that you're giving this service or this product to the community. So it's all volunteering. It's the same thing. So you find what you want to do, what you have a passion to do, and you give back, whether it's your time, whether it's your knowledge. I mean, we're all here today. I should be offended she didn't mention I'm part of Bolingbrook Rotary with her, but that's okay. So feeling some kind of way about that, and I really am after a decade. But in any event, so that's all it is. It's what you're already doing. And once people know you love what you do, like your business, what you're providing, and you translate that into volunteering, that shows, that in turn circles back to, oh, you know, so-and-so sells cupcakes, or so-and-so has a gluten-free product. Why don't you try that? I met her. She was volunteering at this blood drive. And it just all goes around. I mean, when you see some of the most successful people, you notice that they're always giving back, because it does come back. What you put out there comes back to you, and it's no different than what you're already doing. You just find what you personally have a passion for, and I guarantee you there's somebody that has a need for that service.
Before Anita calls me out, after I left the Bolingbrook Police Pension Board, I actually recommended Anita as the replacement. So she ended up going onto the pension board, and we were in Rotary together. I was president, she was president. So we've kind of been a tag team. So I apologize, Anita.
Okay, it's about time for us to finish up, so we're going to finish with one last question. What is the best thing about working for yourself, and what is the worst thing working for yourself? There's pros and cons to both. There always is. The pros always outweigh the cons, we hope, but there is definitely something to be said about owning your own business.
I think the best thing for me working for myself is that I own my own time. I joked with a friend once because I took literally a 3-week vacation. I had to drop his son off at college, and then I went and hung out with my business partner, and he said, who takes a 3-week vacation? Me, because I work for myself. So, you know, I'm accountable, obviously, to my clients, but I'm also able to set my own schedule. And I think the worst thing about working for yourself is you're usually the last one to get paid. If there is ever a cash flow issue, everybody will be paid before Alicia is paid. So that is probably, obviously, in any business, that's going to be a challenge at some point in your career, but knowing that you want to make sure that food is on everybody else's table as well. But the worst thing is that you are going to be the last person on the list on payday most of the time.
Well, the best thing, like you said, is the time that you can get back with your family in most cases. Working with others, you're tied to a clock, you're tied to a train, you're tied to a schedule of some sort. And working for yourself, you can kind of manage those areas of expertise. One of the challenges that I have had as a sole owner after my partners have transitioned out is there's really no one else to talk to. I find myself at 8 o'clock at night sitting in the office going, well, what do you think? Well, what do you think? And sometimes I get an answer and sometimes I don't. But what that allows me to do is really reflect on what did I actually need the question asked for? Why am I asking the question? So the difficulty is sometimes not having an answer, not having someone to bounce the ideas off of, but that's when you lean back on your staff. You lean back on your mentors, you lean back on your family. And don't get me wrong, there are lots of fun days. We laugh, we sing, we cry together as a work family. Family comes first. You know, someone in the office has an emergency, they leave. Family comes first no matter what. But the challenge is not really having someone to actually to answer those questions. So what do I say, girls? Put a stake in the ground and make a decision. And so one way or another, it's going to help and it's going to work out.
Well, I think the best part about working for yourself is just basically the sky's the limit. I mean, it's whatever you want it to be, what your vision is. No one is stopping you. There's no glass ceiling. You just keep going until you just don't want to go anymore. So I think that's the great part about it. As opposed to being a company and this is your position that you have and we'll decide if you can move to a different level or not or never or if you have a job tomorrow. So, you know, when we were going through the recession, I said, well, one thing I know for sure is I always have a job. So I don't have to worry about being fired. I always have a job. So I think the bad part about it, I guess, is you always have a job. So, a lot of people, I hear people say, oh, you work for yourself. Oh, that's so fabulous. You know, that's great. You make your own schedule and you get to do this and you get to come in whenever you want. And that's really not true. You work harder for yourself because you eat what you kill. And you want everything to go smoothly. You have employees that depend on your success as a business. They have families to feed. And so you work harder. So that's a negative. You can't just go in and say, I don't feel well today. I'm just going to punch in. We'll see what I do, and then I'll just punch out. I'll get a paycheck the same anyway. You actually work harder for yourself, and your clients and the work volume dictate your time. I mean, they really do. So if you're going to be successful and you're going to make things happen, you're going to work harder and you're going to put in a lot of time when you work for yourself as opposed to going into a company and coming back home because you've done your 9 to 5.
Oh, I would say the best part about owning your own business is that you create, for number one, you start off with creating your own path. So if you ask me today, after being in this since 1982 and going through all the challenges, I would have to say that the best part about owning my business today is the success that I've created. I would have to say that's what I'm really grateful and very thankful for. What I least like about owning your own company is when I don't feel good in the morning, I don't have anybody to call into. There's nobody, you know, there's nobody to take that call. So to a lot of points I've heard here, you really come last. You don't come first. Everybody else comes first and you come last. But the end result is success.
Great. Thank you all once again for this discussion. It was wonderful. Got a lot of information. And now we would like to hear from all of you with any of your questions that you might have. Just raise your hand. Yes.
Hi, I wanted to know from you guys, when was a point in your business journey that you literally thought about closing the doors?
Closing the doors. You want to give it a try?
Honestly, I've never thought about closing the doors. I'm a very competitive person, and I'm not going to let anyone beat me down. I would never close the doors. I would rather transition it to someone else. If I can't do it, I will give it to someone else that can.
I don't think I've actually ever thought about closing my doors either. A couple years ago, I decided that I wanted to teach at some point. I said that that'll be my retirement career. So I came in the office January 1st, and I said I'm on a 5-year plan. And I actually did that to encourage my staff to start to do some of the things that they had decided. You know, if you said you were going to sit for the CPA exam, well, now you have 5 years, because, you know, I want them, if I do anything, I would pass that on to someone else. But yes, the succession planning. But I don't believe I've ever had a time that I've just said, I give up, I'm going to close the doors, because I know that there are other people depending on me as well.
I wouldn't really say that I would say close the door, but I know that when I started out early, it was like, should I be doing this, or could I just go work for someone else? It'd be so much easier. So there was times where you had doubts where it was like, okay, am I going to make the bills this month? Man, it'd be so much easier if I just worked downtown. I would get this check and it would be more comfortable. So it was that kind of conversation back and forth. Not necessarily close the door, but you do have some doubts when you first start out, and I think that's normal. It's just holding that path. So those things are going to cross your mind, but here I am 20 years later, so, you know, you just stick with it. And
I would say the exact same thing. I never thought about closing the doors or giving up or just handing in the towel. I tell you what I can tell you, share you with this. I'm a really good example of a bad one, and I'll tell you why. I helped build that business, and then I bought it, if you get what I'm saying. So if there was ever a lesson, boy, don't be in a business where you build it. You know, you're buying it from somebody, and you don't own it, and you're just in it, and you're building, and you get nothing for your sweat equity. That would be, I don't know where what your thoughts are on that, but that was not a good deal.
Lisa?
Well, I have one on the other end of the spectrum. What was that one magical moment, ladies, when you realized, I'm successful. I've done what I started out to do, that it actually clicked in your head? Was it when you saw, hey, my bank account got some money? Yeah. That's it.
I think for me, honestly, that magical moment was when I knew that I could take myself out of the business for a while if I had to, whether it was by choice or not by choice. And I'll give you an example. In 2015, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And so what I thought would be maybe a journey that wouldn't, that I could come back to work after a couple of months, it ended up being a 2-year period where I was in and out of the office. But the staff was still able to take care of things. When I was able to help. But for me, I felt like, oh God, if I'm not there, then we're going to have to close our doors. So for me, that moment was knowing that even during that 2-year period, they were still able to at least continue to, operate the business in my absence.
Wow, that's kind of a tough question because I really don't feel like I've actually made it yet. Honestly, we have a successful business, we have a successful team, we have over 500 clients that love us. We have an enterprise client that loves us, that keeps giving us business, and we're just blessed to continue the service that we do. So I think in order for me to say that I've made it, will be when I stop doing what I'm doing and the business continues.
I think I'm so much more simplistic than that. I'm sorry. One of my goals, if you will, was, 'cause I put myself through college. I put myself through law school. And so for those of you who have ever had to put yourself through school, you learn how to, in my opinion, make $1 out of 15 cents, right? So you stretch and you stretch. And one of the things that I didn't want to continue doing was what we call living hand to mouth, And so I considered myself, I made it when things could get paid, like the bills, automatically without me saying, oh my gosh, do I have enough money for it? So it could just be automatically deducted and it was paid without me having to look at the bill or have to balance the budget to see if it's going to work, if there was going to be enough funds there. So, you know, now I get the emails, you know, ComEd is paid. I'm like, oh yeah, okay, cool. So, so that was that aha moment, if you will, that was like, okay, I made it. I made it to that point where, you know, the business can sustain itself financially without stress of, you know, is there enough income to do so?
Mine was when I purchased the business, even though I built it and paid for it and it was painful, but mine was when I purchased it. And I think there's a second one that comes later in life, and that's when you get to retire and sell that business that you built at a really good profit. And that's your second moment of success.
Okay, one more back here in the corner.
What is success to you? How do you define success personally?
I'll take that. Okay. One simple word. Freedom.
I would define success in just, I guess for me, treating my staff the way I want to be treated. I have a rule that when a staff person is on vacation, unless the building is on fire, I don't want to bother them. I want them to know that I value their time just as much as they value being at work. And the fact that there are some days where I come in and if I feel like, okay, I'm going to let you be in charge today. They don't have a problem with taking ownership in the business without me feeling like I have to make them do something. They don't look at it as just a job. They look at it as a career and something they enjoy doing every day. So the fact that they take as much ownership in the business that I started, that I do, that definitely makes me feel good and happy and successful.
I would concur with that 100%. In addition to that, I think success is also knowing that our customers now, working with all of them, they trust our decision-making on their behalf. It's not something that I sell any services to them. They ask for our recommendation and they go with it. So it's that trust factor, that relationship that you've built with your client. It's the ongoing relationship that you continue to build and instill in all of our clients. But you know, when you get to that level of success with your clients where they're calling you and say, just do it, that really is an attribute to your team and to what you've built as a company.
Okay, I guess I have to answer now. I think success is all of those things. And also, it's meeting those goals that you set for yourself. You know, those goals along the ways. Every time you accomplish that goal, that is a mark of success. I think success is forever developing and forever changing. I don't think it's an end destination that you finally reach until, you know, you probably are 6 feet under. So I think that it's a constant evolution as to what success is. Success today doesn't equal success tomorrow. I think if that equals success tomorrow, then you're limiting yourself because you're not growing anymore. So I think that is really key. And I know one of the things in my industry as an African-American lawyer is to have the respect and the recognition from my colleagues in terms of being an adversary in the courtroom and in terms of, you know, just running a law practice. So those are all kind of key components. But I think it's a ever evolution, constant thing. It's not just an end destination.
I just want to piggyback to that because when I said freedom, that is because that's, to me, I'm at a different level in my business and in my career. So it's really about those goals. It's really about the long-term goals because once you set those goals, then you've achieved that's success. Because at that moment in time, to your point, that's the goal. But the end goal is really freedom, retirement, right? Because that's where, but see, when you really, and I'm just saying that out loud because it's the truth. I mean, when you think about it, so it was really a good point, Annie, because it really is about setting those goals and then achieving that success mark every step of the way.
Great. If you have more questions, feel free to come up afterwards and ask them questions. I'm sure that all 4 of them would be available. At this time, I'd like to bring up Dawn Doretta Strong so that she can say a few words for us.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Let's give this panel. Awesome job, Rose, Teresa, Alicia, Nina. Awesome, phenomenal. You have well represented the women of this community, and we are deeply inspired by all of your comments and all of what you've given us today. We have truly been fed a lot. Thank you so much for being here again. And thank all of you for being here. Tony, thank you so much. We thank you for all of your hard work and dedication to the chapter and to the Bolingbrook bunch of women. Thank you again, Tony. If you all would so kindly pull this from your booklet, it's either inserted or at the very, very bottom of it. It could very well be on your seat. We want to hear from you. If you could take a pen or pencil out, leave this, tell us how you feel. I've already told you how I feel about this panel as the women up here. If you would so kindly complete every one of the questions, we would love for you to, upon completion, hand back to us as you exit the door or raise your hand. One of us will come and pick it up from you. Once again, this evening, ladies, we thank you all for being here. And there is a gentleman in the, probably a gentleman in the room, by the way. Thank you again for being here. Have a great night. And once again, our panelists will be up here for questions and photos. Right? Okay, so hang around. Thank you.